Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Monday, the 16th of January 2017. If you're checking this podcast out for the first time, I really hope that you like it. And if you're coming back, thank you ever so much for doing so, and I really appreciate that. So, this is a knitting podcast, and once again, I think this is going to be a shortish episode, which is fine by me. I just feel like I go through phases in which I have so much stuff to show you and tell you and talk about, and then other times I just don't have that much to show you, and usually when life gets busier I feel more comfortable doing shorter episodes. So anyways, let's talk about the stuff that's going on in the Ravelry group. So the group is called the Happy Knitting Podcast group on Ravelry, and that's also where you can find the show notes for this and every other episode. So I usually just link my project pages, and there you can find the needle sizes that I used and modifications and all kind of stuff related to my projects. And also that's where I'll mention the dyes that I talk about, or if you have any coupon codes and so on. So in there we have 2 knit-alongs running at the moment. I won't go into too much detail today because I don't want to be repeating the same stuff 10 minutes every week. But we have 2 knit-alongs. One of them is the One Ball with Love KAL, which is an informal knit-along for using commercial sock yarn. And all the details are in the thread. And the other knit-along is the one that we have prizes for. It's the Geeky Sock Along. So like the name suggests, just knit geeky socks, whatever that entails for you. We have an FO thread, which some people have already posted in some fantastic finished pairs of socks. And we also have a chatter thread. And again, in the chatter thread, I have listed all of the rules and the prizes and so on. So if you're interested, please feel free to join in anytime. You can enter as many projects as you like, as long as they obviously relate to the knit-along. And I will show the prizes, and I have shown them in the past, and I will show them again in a couple of weeks. We also have a coupon code for the Etsy store Valkyrie Fibers Tahoe. And I have written down the coupon code in last week's show notes, and I'll try to remember to do this again for this week, so feel free to take advantage of that. And both the coupon code and the knit-along, the Geeky Sock Along, go until the end of March 2017. So let's just jump in with some finished objects. I have one pair of socks finished that most of you won't be surprised by. This is my first pair of finished socks for the Geeky Sock Along. This yarn is geeky because it is Firefly inspired, and the name of the colorway is Can't Stop the Signal. The yarn is by Brew City Yarns in their glitter sock base. I can't remember the name of the base, but it's their Stelina sock yarn, which I was sent by my lovely friend. And as you can see, I just knit some vanilla socks for myself. I hope you can see how sparkly these are. So I did my typical sock formula. I did 20 rows of 2x2 ribbing, then 80 rows of stockinette, a fish lips kiss heel, which is my favorite heel construction in the world. And yeah, so these are just some simple, amazing, sparkly vanilla socks. For me, I knit them on US size 1 2.25mm needles. And I cast on 64 stitches. So I think that's all the information you need on these. I am so excited to wear these. I was kind of torn because I love the yarn so much. I wanted, and I did enjoy knitting every stitch, so I kind of didn't want them to end, but at the same time I'm really excited about wearing these, so I might actually start wearing them today. So that's one finished object, and that was actually all the finished objects that were supposed to happen. But I have another finished object, and you have actually not seen this as a work in progress unless you follow me on Instagram, on which I am the Happy Knitting Podcast, in case you're interested. Is my microphone working? Okay, so I cast on another pair of socks for the One Ball with Love socks, One Ball with Love KAL. And I cast on using some commercial sock yarn from Opal or Opal. And this is in the Little Prince series. So this one is called Der kleine Prinz und der Geograph, which is colorway number 7767. So yes, a very good German commercial sock yarn. And I was so excited about using this. I've had it in my stash for a while. And I wasn't quite sure what to do, and then actually one of the viewers of this podcast inspired me because she was knitting a pair of Impossible Girl socks, which is a Doctor Who inspired pattern, and that just looked really fun. So I decided to cast on the same pattern. It's a free pattern, but I don't remember the designer, sorry. But I will have a link in the show notes. So I finished another pair of socks, which is kind of insane, I know, but I was just having so much fun. So I'm not a massive Doctor Who fan, I do admit, but I like the pattern and it's geeky, so I thought it worked anyways. And as you can see, I cast on 64 stitches. I think, actually no, I'm lying to you. I cast on 60 stitches because I went up to a 2.5 millimeter, a US 1.5 needle. So I cast on 60 stitches, did 15 rows of 2x2 rib, and then I knit the pattern, which is written for 64 stitches, so I just kind of fudged a little bit to make it work, which wasn't hard. And as you can see, it has this mock cable on the front of, basically on both sides. So it has it on this side and on this side. And what I really liked is how this mock cable, it provides some interest and it just kind of runs along the entire sock, which I thought was really, really pretty. It would probably show up more on a more solid yarn, but I just thought this would be fun and just a little bit of interest. And as you can see, I did put in the fish lips heel. So once again, whenever I use pattern socks, I always just kind of steal the pattern and then do my own heel and toe and such construction. But yeah, these mock cables were really, really fun to knit. It's a 4-row repeat, which is super, super memorizable. And these just flew off my needles. I don't really know why, but they were so fast. Like, I think yesterday I turned the heel and then I just knit the entire thing. And I didn't even have that much knitting time. It surely also has to do with the fact that I went up a needle size. That obviously speeds it up a little bit. But again, I had so much fun with these. I think I did 16 repeats of the pattern on the leg of the sock and then 15 on the bottom until I did my toe. So once again, I'm really happy about these. I'm also happy to have some more commercial socks for myself because as I said before, I often use these kind of yarns for presents and stuff, so I don't end up having many of them in my sock drawer. But yeah, I'm really excited about them, and I've been wanting to knit this colorway up for a while. I just kind of waited for the perfect occasion. So I guess this works for both knit-alongs, even though of course I'm not going to enter for prizes. And yeah, these are finished. I was going to leave the toe so I would be able to show it to you as a work in progress and then finish them next week, but I just had so much time this morning because I am actually recording in the afternoon. We had some handymen come around this morning and they actually stayed for like 3 hours. So I had so much time on my hands. So I finished the socks. So those are my two finished objects for the week. Which means that all the socks that I have to show you now are all new cast-ons. But actually, no, that's not true. I'm lying to you, sorry. There's one other pair of socks which is almost done. It is so close to being done. And these are my Hedwig socks. At least I'm calling them my Hedwig socks. It is a yarn by Shawl Garne. Let's see if I have the tag. I do. So it's Shawl Garne in her soft sock base on the Globetrotter colorway, and this base is her 80/20 merino nylon, which I love. And I titled these socks my Hedwig socks, and Hedwig is the owl of Harry Potter, in case you weren't familiar, because it looks like a snow owl. I think it looks exactly like Hedwig, and it has the green speckles for Hedwig's eyes, and therefore it definitely is a geeky sock and suitable for the geeky sock along. So I had the first sock, I don't think I had it done last week, but I was pretty far down the foot. And you can see how pretty the yarn is knitting up. I think it's just so pretty. And once again, I'm doing a vanilla sock. This time I did 20 rows of 1x1 ribbing. But besides that, my normal sock recipe using a fish lips kiss heel. And I say almost finished because I just have to do the toe on the second one and then I'll be done. Sorry for the interruption. My doorbell just rang and I thought it might be the mail for me, but it turned out to be the mail for our neighbor. Anyways, I'm almost finished with the second sock. I just have the toe to do, just the toe decreases, and then these will be done as well. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying the yarn once again. I just love the soft sock base by Sheboard Garner, and I have mentioned before that it's quite a squishy sock yarn. So in the past, I have gone up to 2.5 millimeter or US size 1.5 needles, but this time I just really wanted a sort of thick, squishy sock. So I stayed with my US ones, 2.25 millimeter, and this time I'm knitting them on some wooden DPNs, which I don't do very often, but it's nice for a change, and I'm really enjoying it. So these should definitely be a finished object next week. In fact, I'm not sure why I didn't just sit down for 15 minutes and finish them before recording, but yeah. I think that's all I have to tell you about that. So these should be finished very soon. You can see I have socks on my mind. So before I show you my new cast-ons, I actually have finally made some progress on my breathing space sweater, which is a pattern by Ravelry Group, and I'm sure you guys are sick of me talking about it because I never finish it. And this is mostly because I said I would finish the body on the last podcast. I actually sat down and did it, and I'm not sure why it has taken me so long. I've already been knitting on this for like, I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, for ages. But yeah, progress is slow, guys. But I have, as you can see, finally finished the body of the sweater, and it has been in my project bag. It has not been blocked, so it is a little crinkled. But I finished the body. Last time I showed it to you 2 weeks ago, I had just finished the strapping, and as you can see, now I just did the solid section and the ribbing. And I posted a photo of this on Instagram, which we might be more able to tell the shaping. I completely changed the shaping of the sweater because it is a A-line shape. And only while knitting it, I realized that the A-line shape is not something that I really like for myself. Even though it does look good on everyone who is wearing the sweater, it's just not my thing. So what I've done is I've been, as you might be able to tell, I've been doing decreases to do the opposite of the shaping that's written in the pattern. And I think it's worked out really well. I think once I wear it, it's going to be the fit that I want it to be. It just looks a little awkward when you're looking at it like that. But it was actually a plan to turn out like this. So anyway, since finishing the body, I have started one of the sleeves. And these are just striped sleeves. And I think now I'm at the point where I need to start doing the decreases. So I took a bit of a break again. But I'm hoping that now that I'm on the sleeves, it'll go relatively fast, even though just these 8 centimeters or whatever, I think it was 8 centimeters I had to knit before the decreases. They did take a long time. But as you can see, I'm knitting the sleeves on magic loop, which is what I pretty much always do, simply because I don't have all the DPNs in the sizes that I would need, and I don't mind doing magic loop. So finally some progress. Fingers crossed I will have this finished in the next couple of weeks. I would really like to have this done. I'm not sure what the problem is with this sweater because the pattern is fine, the yarn is fine, the needles are fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and I'm actually plotting to knit more sweaters, which is kind of insane, but I don't know, somehow the knitting on the sweater has just kind of driven me nuts. The yarn that I'm using is Drops Flora, which is a wool alpaca blend, I believe. It's just a fingering weight yarn that is quite affordable, and it's my first time using it, but I'm really liking it. It is kind of rustic, but it's not, it is soft, I think. It definitely feels soft to me, so it's not like a very, very rough yarn or anything like that. So I think I wouldn't use this again for another sweater, definitely. Maybe not so much for shawls or anything like that, but sweaters, hats, mittens, all sorts of stuff, I think this yarn would be quite useful. So that's my Ravelry Group sweater, and I'm knitting it on 3.5 millimeter needles in case you were curious. And now I have attached yarn to myself. I'll fix that later. So let's talk about the new cast-ons because I'm way more excited about that. So I have cast on 2 pairs of socks. I figured I kind of deserved a new cast-on after finally sitting down and doing some work on my sweater, and obviously 2 pairs of socks were almost finished by the time I cast these on. So the first pair of socks I cast on are from my boyfriend. He's been bugging me to knit him more socks, and I just have been on a selfish knitting kick lately. I'm not really sure why. but I agreed to knit him some socks. He actually wanted me to knit in different socks. He wants some A-team socks for the geeky sock along, but the yarn that we have ordered for that hasn't arrived yet, so in the end he got impatient and let me cast on a different pair of socks for him. So this is what I've done so far. As you can see, I'm knitting 2 at a time on magic loop, and I have cast on this yarn for him. I'll just show you one ball because I have split it into 2. So this is the yarn that I'm using, and this only entered stash like 2 weeks ago. This is yarn that he picked and bought. This is Ostermann yarn, which is a commercial yarn in their hand-painted series, and the colorway is number 17. So it's a 75% virgin wool superwash, 25% polyamide. So I guess theoretically this could count for the One Ball with Love's KAL because it is a commercial sock yarn. I'm not quite sure, but it's I think it's my first time knitting with Ostermann, and it is just a very sort of standard sock yarn. It is not super soft, but I quite like it. I would compare it to Regia or something. And yeah, I quite like how it's knitting up so far. You can't see, but I have done 20 rows of 1x1 rib. And I have started the vanilla latte pattern, and I can never remember the designer. I'm sorry. I will link it in the show notes. But it is a free pattern, and I've used it a couple of times, especially for KALs socks, because these socks, just with the patterning, they always come out a little bit wider, so I get away with casting on 4 stitches less. So for him now I'm only doing 64 stitches rather than 68, which is what I would usually cast on. So you will be able to see the pattern more next week, I believe. But it is a free pattern and I would recommend it. Like I said, just make sure they don't turn out too big if you're knitting with your normal stitch count. So far, I'm quite enjoying the yarn. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. I wasn't too crazy about it when Kai decided he really wanted it and he really wanted me to knit socks out of it. I don't know why I wasn't too excited about it, but it just wasn't really my thing. But I think it's knitting up quite nicely, and I think the pulling is pretty fun. You can see a sample of how it's supposed to pull on the actual label, but of course that will depend on the stitch count. But yeah. So I'm knitting these on 2.25mm US size 1 higher sharps, 2 at a time. And I'm actually looking forward to knitting on them more this week, because while I did allow myself to cast on some new stuff, I didn't really allow myself to knit on them very much, just because I wanted to get the Impossible Girl socks finished, and I also want to get the Hedwig socks off the needle. But I did cast on another pair of socks this morning, and again, I only have a cuff to show you, but this is definitely a selfish sock. This is the yarn that I'm using. This is some really old stash for me. I think I've had my stash for like 1.5 years maybe, which doesn't maybe sound long for some people, but I've only been sort of like stashing yarn for 2 years. So I remember getting this in our old apartment back when we were still living in Würzburg, and I don't know why. It's a nice yarn, but somehow it just kind of went into stash, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to knit with it for a while. And then suddenly, when I went through my stash last week, I just really decided that I want to knit with it right now. So the yarn is by a German indie dyer. She's on Etsy, and her yarn is called Featherfin. And this is in her merino blend sock, which is a merino nylon in the colorway Lovely. And as you can see, I have started a cuff, and this is a 1x1 twisted rib cuff. I don't do twisted rib all the time because it can be a little bit annoying to knit, and also it's not the stretchiest of cuffs, I believe. Actually, it is stretchy, but I feel like, at least for me, when I wear socks with twisted rib, it often kind of stays a little bit stretched out, but it is really, really pretty. And for this sock, I'm planning to knit some pattern socks. I'm 99% sure these are going to be monkey socks. So I just really wanted a pretty cuff. So monkey socks are a pattern by Cookie A, and they have a free pattern on knitty.com. And if you search the Ravelry page, you can actually buy a paid-for pattern of a paid-for version of this pattern, which I think gives you more sizes, but it will also give you the link to the free pattern, which is what I'll be using. So I have knit the monkey socks before once, and they turned out a little bit too small because I think my tension was just completely off, because I was thinking they were going to be too big, and long story short, I never actually wore them, which was so sad because I used, again, a very, very lovely yarn from Fond and Fibre, the only yarn that I had from Fond and Fibre or have knit with. It was a glitter yarn, and I was really heartbroken when they turned out too small. And then they kind of sat in my sock drawer for a good year. And then I actually decided to give them to my grandma for Christmas, because she has smaller feet than I do, so I thought they might fit her. And it was funny because I was quite torn about gifting them to her, because I felt like, I mean, I had only tried to wear them once when I realized they were too small, but I still felt like they weren't brand new, and I don't know, I was going back and forth between giving them to her or knitting her another pair. But in the end, I gave them to her, and she absolutely loves them. It was so cute. On Christmas, she kept just talking about how much she loved them. And my grandma used to knit so many pairs of socks, but she kept saying how she never knit anything like that with a pattern, and that those socks are too pretty to wear. And it was just really, really adorable and cute. And I was so happy to make her smile, because she is quite sick. So anyways, it was really cute. I think last week my grandfather called me, and he kept telling me that apparently she doesn't wear the socks because they're too pretty, which again was so cute. So I encouraged her and told him to tell her that she should wear these socks because they are meant to be worn, and I will happily knit her more socks. And apparently now she's wearing them. So I just thought that makes my grandma the knit-worthiest person on the planet. And it makes me so happy that those socks found a good home. But anyways, long story short, I'm finally going to knit another pair, and this time I really would like to keep them for myself, because it's a really pretty pattern and I really want some monkey socks for my feet. So anyways, that was enough babbling on about that, and that's it for my works in progress. So I will be back in a second. So I'm back, and before I go into acquisitions, I have something to tell you guys that I forgot to mention last week. So last week I showed you this shawl, which is the Excuse Me shawl by Stephen West. Major brain fart. Stephen West. I'm sure lots of you have heard of him and heard of his patterns before. This is a brioche shawl that I finished last week. And I said I knitted to the pattern, but essentially I completely forgot to tell you that I did not do the bind off as it should have been. So I think Stephen has you do some kind of I-cord bind off, which I do admit is a pretty bind off, but I chose to not do the I-cord bind off because with I-cord bind offs, they can be kind of, it is really a matter of knitting them tight enough or loose enough to just have it in, have enough stretch. And I was going to block this thing quite aggressively, and I sometimes like I-cords, but I always feel like on shawls they can be a little bit constrictive. So I really wanted to block this as much as I wanted to, not as much as the I-cord permitted me to do so. And I just really didn't want to fiddle around with making it loose enough or whatever. And I really think the brioche speaks for itself, so I just did a normal bind off. I just wanted to mention that because I didn't mention it last week. And also last week I didn't show it to you worn, but I have worn this quite a lot now and I do love it. It basically goes with everything because it is just so colorful. The only thing that it kind of drives me a little bit nuts is that it has this point here, which is the shawl is asymmetrical. And this point kind of just hangs off kind of, now I think like this, I guess it looks kind of pretty, but it always kind of stands in the way when I wear the shawl as I usually wear my shawls, which is just, I just wrap it around myself once. So yeah, I just thought that was quite funny because who would have thought? But anyways, just wanted to mention that, and now let's move on to some acquisitions. So I didn't actually buy any yarn, but that doesn't mean I didn't get anything because I have a lovely friend who sent me a package. So let me just get that package. So first of all, my lovely friend Jennifer, she said we did a swap before in which she spoiled me very much. and she went to Harry Potter World, and because I think we're both Ravenclaws and we kind of talked about it, she said that she would bring me a little thing from Harry Potter World. And look, I got a Ravenclaw pin and I'm so excited about this. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, and I'm also not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. I was going to put it on a project bag, but now I'm just so worried that I'll lose it, so I'm thinking maybe I'll just put it into... We have this sort of glass door thing in our living room, and maybe I just put it on display, but then I guess it's not supposed to be just on display, but it is so special for me, so it definitely deserves a special place, and I would not forgive myself if I lost this. So I'm so excited about this. I'm such a Harry Potter geek, and to have a Ravenclaw badge, that's just so much fun. But of course, she didn't just send me that, she just spoiled me. So she sent me this card because she said she got these kinds of cards and they're just too pretty to write in, so maybe I could hang one up in my craft room. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do because it's just beautiful. So she sent me this. How pretty is that? And then I got some tea, and she sent me some David's tea, and this is David's tea, chocolate covered almond. It's a black tea, and the entire package smelled like chocolate. It smells so good. So I made myself a cup just before podcasting, and went outside for a second, and when I came back, the entire apartment smells so good. I've never had a tea like this. It's a tea, it's a black tea, but it tastes more like chocolate than tea. So yeah, I'm really, really liking them, and yes, I did dig into this. She also sent me some more tea, like Tazo teas and stuff, so I can't wait to drink all these. Especially, I always drink tea, but especially in winter and stuff, I drink the most. And then I also got a giant ball of yarn. This is so huge. This is, I think, 150 grams, and this is Regia in their 6-ply. So I think this is about a sport weight, and you can see it's sort of like a strappy colorway. It is, let's see, sock yarn. It's 150 grams, which is 375 meters or 410 yards. So yeah, I think it's a sport weight yarn. You're supposed to use 3 to 4 millimeter needles. So this is going to make a very, very warm pair of winter socks. I think I might wait till next fall and then make myself these socks, because I feel like by now, if I knit them now, it's going to get warmer pretty soon. So this might just have to live in stash for a while, which I like doing. I don't know, I like having yarns in my stash for a while before I use them. But it's really pretty, and colorway is number 6368, in case you were curious. And I've never knit with Regia's 6-ply yarn before, so I'm very curious. And then, because she is crazy, she sent me more stuff. She sent me another card in which she wrote in, and I'm not going to tell you what she wrote. And this is a stitch marker from Whimsy Stitches Designs, and can you see it's a Christmas sweater. Oh, how did I zoom? It's a Christmas sweater. And it's just so awesome. I can't wait to use this. I'm probably going to use this on socks as well, by the way, but it says, "This is my ugly Christmas sweater," and it's just so pretty. I'm very excited about this. And last but not least, she sent me another project bag. So these are drawstring bags, and I think they're so fun. I use my sock size one all the time, especially when I'm out and about or traveling or anything. And once again, Jenny picked such a pretty design. I love the colors, I love the polka dots. It is just so cute. So I feel very, very special. Thank you so much. And this arrived super fast on Friday. It arrived right before I had to go to my job interview, which I'll talk about in a second. So this was just perfect and cheered me up, and thanks so much. I'm very much enjoying this package already, as you can see. My microphone is all weird today. So that's it for my acquisitions, and I'll talk about life in general. So if you're not interested in that, that's totally fine. Then I'll just see you next week. And if you are sticking around, I'll just quickly talk through what's been happening. So, for life in general, I just realized I didn't bring over my crochet blanket today, and I have actually done quite a bit of crochet, but I'll just show that to you next week. But yeah, my week has been pretty good, but also quite stressful. So I had another job interview, which went super, super well, and things are looking good. I'm not going to go into too much detail, and I'm not quite sure into how much detail I will go about job things in the future either, just because it concerns other people and institutions and stuff as well. But it is looking good. I'm going back in tomorrow, so please keep crossing your fingers, because I think this could be a really, really good opportunity for me if it worked out. It's not sure yet. Nothing is set in stone yet. But yeah, like I said, I'm very, very excited about the possibilities. But of course, having a job interview and knowing you're going to go back in and all that sort of stuff is also quite stressful. So I have been doing so much stress knitting and stress crochet as well. I feel like I've really started to speed up on my crochet blanket as well. And it's really funny. I always kind of realize in hindsight how much knitting I've done. And then when I think about what state of mind I've been in, it really makes sense. But yeah, so it's been great, but also quite stressful. On Friday after the interview, I was very, very relieved. We went out for dinner and kind of celebrated a little bit. And I was so excited about the weekend, and after the whole stress stuff, just not doing a whole lot. But then over the weekend, of course, you're still preoccupied with what's going on. So I was finding it a little hard to completely let go and just enjoy. But I mean, it's all part of the game, and yeah, things are definitely looking up, which is great. Besides that, we didn't get up to a whole lot, I will say. I actually convinced Kai to go to a yarn store with me on Saturday, to my favorite yarn store, which is the Mercerie. And I didn't buy any yarn, which I thought was quite good of me. Kai was very disappointed with me, but I thought, well, if there's nothing that I need 100%, that's fine. I was actually specifically looking for a certain yarn to go with something that I already have in deep stash, but couldn't find it, so that's fine. Besides that, we didn't do a whole lot. We've done quite a few snow walks because it's been snowing, and it's actually snowing right now. And it's the really nice kind of snow. Like, I hate it when it snows so much at once that then, the traffic doesn't work anymore and it just turns into slush because everything just melts away afterwards. But instead of that, we've been having snow for about 2 weeks now, and it snows and then it stops and then it starts again, and everything is wet and beautiful, and yeah, I'm really, really enjoying the snow. It's also great to be inside and knitting when it snows, so yeah, that's that. So with that, I would love to hear from you and see you participate in the Ravelry group, maybe in the KAL or in the introduction thread, or you can ask a question in the Ask Away thread. I always love hearing from you. I also post quite a lot on Instagram, where I'm the Happy Knitting Podcast, so if you're interested, please feel free to find me there. And I will just see you again next week. Have a wonderful knitty week, my friends. Enjoy your knitting, and yeah, see ya. Bye.